Anybody else?
Sri Narada Uvacha.
Sri Narada Vacha
Bhavanu Tadavad Prayam.
Bhavatanudita Prayam
Yeso Bhagavato Amalam.
Yasho Bhagavato Amalam
Yenaiva Sunata Tushyeta.
Yeneva Saunatusyeta
Manye Taddarshanam Akilam.
Manye Taddarshanam Khilam. Synonyms: Sri Narada, Sri Narada, Uvacha, said, Bhavata, by you, Anudita Prayam, almost not praised, Yasaha, glorious, Bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead, Amalam, spotless, Yena, by which, Eva, certainly, so he, the personality of Godhead, Na, does not, Tushyeta, be pleased, Manye, I think, Tat, that, Darsanam, philosophy, Khilam, inferior. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Sri Narada said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless. Translation with repetition. Sri Narada said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy, which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord, is considered worthless. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The eternal relation of an individual soul with the Supreme Soul, personality of Godhead, is constitutionally one of being the eternal servitor of the eternal Master. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them. And this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. Such a scholar as Vyasadeva has completed many expansions of the Vedic literatures, ending with the Vedanta philosophy, but none of them have been written directly glorifying the personality of Godhead. Dry philosophical speculations, even on the transcendental subject of the Absolute, have very little attraction without directly dealing with the glorification of the Lord. The personality of Godhead is the last word in the transcendental realization. The Absolute, realized as impersonal Brahman or localized Supersoul Paramatma, is less productive of transcendental bliss than the Supreme Personal realization of His glories. The compiler of the Vedanta Darshan is Vyasadeva himself, yet he is troubled, although he is the author. So what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by the readers and listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva the author? Herein arises the necessity of explaining Vedanta Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam by the self-same author. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this verse is the verse that we've been waiting for some time, spoken by Narad Muni himself. Because all along before this, Vedavyas has been speaking, and this is the verse which Narad Muni speaks. And what does he speak? He's saying, Bhavatan udita prayam yasho bhagavato amalam yenevaso natushyeta manyeta darshanam khilam. So manyeta darshanam khilam. Now the word khilam is a very interesting word which means inferior. Manyeta darshanam khilam. Manye, I consider this to be. Who's considered this? Narad Muni. Narad Muni is considering something to be inferior. Manyeta darshanam khilam. Darshanam is one word which is used in the Vedic literatures extensively, which means kind of a vision. So the philosophy can be explained in various ways. There is Sat Darshan philosophy. So the philosophy which is explained by Vyasadeva is considered to be khilam, inferior, by Narad Muni. Why? Because he's saying Bhavata Anudita Prayam. Anudita Prayam. Anudita, na udita, Anudita, Prayam. Prayam is almost Bhavata, with great respect, he's addressing someone in Sanskrit in a very refined, polite language. Bhavata, your good self. Anudita Prayam, you have actually not glorified, almost not glorified, not praised. What? Yasho Bhagavato Amalam. Bhagavata. Bhagavata refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yasaha. Yasaha refers to the glories. So Narad Muni is saying, Bhavatanudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavata Amalam. That spotless Yasha. Yasha, Amalam Yasha of Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is not praised, is not almost praised by you. Yene vaso natushyeta. One may say, no, but I wrote, Vedavyas still wrote all those Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Mahabharat, so many literatures Vedavyas wrote. Then why you are saying that Yasho Bhagavato Amala, that you have not praised? Well, the reason why Narad Muni is telling that you have not almost praised the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the third line, Yeneva so natushyeta, because you yourself are not satisfied. Even if you have written Vedas, even if you are saying that you have written about the God, if you would have written directly, you would have been satisfied. Yene vaso natushyeta. Yena, by which? Certainly, eva, aso natushyeta. So, this is the verse, very interesting verse. After a long time, we have a good purport where Prabhupada is explaining a lot of things. What we will do is, this verse we will divide it into three sections. First one is, what is our constitutional position? The second one is the act of doing inquiry, or the process of question and answer, and why glorification of the Lord. So let's start with the first one, constitutional position. Let me share a video. I'm not sure if I have shared the sound online. If you are able to, if you just tell me if you are able to hear the sound, else I will stop and start sharing again. Is it audible, Lakshminarayan bro?
Yes, bro.
Yes, Prabhu.
What did you learn from this? Builder reveals his secret talent. Okay, that was some of the suggestion which was coming. Okay, what? There was another. Okay, what else? Okay. Anybody wants to say anything from online?
Yes, Prabhu.
What did you learn from this video? 4 minutes video that I played. There has to be some reason behind it.
Yeah,
Quickly. Yes.
sure, Prabhu. So the construction worker had a hidden talent. Nobody knew until he started playing. When he
Construction worker had hidden talent. Nobody knew when he started playing. Okay. Anything else? Anybody?
Okay,
Any
after
different?
that, it is in the airport and everybody is passing by and they are doing their own work. However, there are some people who stopped by to take pictures and visited him like tourism.
Sure.
And then they left, and after that, he left as well.
Okay. Anybody else?
Roji, the people are astonishing that this person is playing so nice. So some of the people getting attention, and some of the people are its own.
Fine. I think that is already brought out by other people as well. Probably if you couldn't hear in the live audience here. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make it here is you will never forget this if you remember this video. You all told that, he has hidden talent, somebody stopped, somebody this thing, all those things you mentioned. Actually, every product, there is a designated use for that. So for example, let's say this mobile phone. This mobile phone is meant to speak or take photos or do whatever with the phone. But if I use it for hitting a nail, right, it can be used when somebody can do that, but what will happen, we don't know. Similarly, actually, if you read the first few lines of the purport, Prabhupada is saying the eternal relation of an individual soul with the Supreme Soul, personality of Godhead, is constitutionally one of being the eternal servitor of the eternal master. Actually, our constitutional position is we are eternal servant of the Lord. That's what is our eternal position. You see, the word eternal is used here. Eternal relation of an individual soul. So there is an eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what is that eternal relationship? Is that of being an eternal servitor of the eternal master. So we are eternal, the Supreme Lord is eternal, and our position is eternal. And our position is eternal servitorship to serve the Lord. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them. And this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. So you see that person, he's such a talented person. He's able to play piano just like probably any professional person. But what did he do? After that, he went to his work, probably, he just left it. And then he went for his own things. like that, we have forgotten our real constitutional position, our glorious position, and are busy in this material world, trying to be happy, trying to be the master, trying to lord over, trying to be the controller. But here, actually, this one thing, if we remember, Prabhupada is saying the eternal relation of an individual soul, we have an eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, is that of being a servitor. And when we fix in that position, when we realize that we have an eternal relationship with the Lord, and my position is to serve, in that way, not only the Lord is pleased, but also we are also satisfied. We are also pleased. So from this portion that we just read, you see, we are all individual living entities, right? And individual living entities have got this consciousness. And this consciousness is like the operating system, right? That's what it is. The inside, what is fed is our consciousness, and that consciousness is like the operating system. And as we saw, that we can be, blissfully situated, we can be very happy if we are engaging in devotional service, right? Now, each living entity in this material world are given these three things. One is called, there are certain rules or regulations. Then he is given certain capacity. And the third one is he is given some free will. So imagine, I don't know if you remember playing any video game, there also there'll be one fighter or someone who will have some ammunition, some different kind of weapons. That's his capacity that he can, use to fire. There'll be certain rules and regulations. You just can't go and fight anyone and everyone. It's just, there are some rules and regulations of the game. And there is a choice, free will of the choice, which is given always to the living entity. So in our case, if we use that free will properly, if we use our capacity, actually people don't use their capacity fully. Sometimes, some point in time, little bit. If we use that free will completely, the choice, the first thing is we have to exercise the free will. It all goes from here. So when we use the free will, the choice that no, I have to be engaged in Krishna's service. And then I use my entire capacity and I follow the rules and regulations given by the Lord, which is created in this material world, those do's and don'ts, and engage in this pure devotional service, then I'll be blissful. I'll be satisfied. The third line is tushyeta. The person will be completely satisfied by doing this. But if somebody doesn't do this, somebody is not following this, it's like the position of that worker whose glory is unlimited. It's a glorious position to be the servant of the Lord. That's what is our eternal constitutional position. But forgetting that, misusing our free will, not utilizing our capacity, not following the rules and regulations, we are suffering like that worker. We are struggling. This is a very, very important point to remember. In this example I found, the intended use of the object is not being done. It is something else. And in that attempt to become the Lord, in that attempt to enjoy in this material world, we are making so many sacrifices. We are making so many hardships. We may get, the worker might be getting some compensation, like that person doing all the hard work. He's carrying spanners, all other tools. He's wearing that, jacket and all those kind of things. Might be getting something, and with that, he might be thinking he's enjoying. But actually, the constitutional position of that person, of the living entity, is we are eternally part and parcel of the Lord. We have an eternal relationship with Him. There is more to it, but if we remember this one point from this first 3 lines of the purport, it's a good starting point. Next, let's move on to the question and answer part. You see, we were having that Bhagavad Gita overview in 3 hours, right? I was telling the kind of questions that we ask that decides the quality of our life. And I was telling you the frequently asked questions in Google, right? What kind of questions are asked? People don't want to get into the depth of the real problem. They just don't want to know it. Here, in the previous verses, if you see this chapter, Vedavyas is asking so wonderfully. He's addressing Narada Muni as Agadha Bodham. You have unlimited knowledge. Atma Bhava, Atma Bhutam. You are self-born. And you are the knower of this knowledge because you are coming. You are the progeny of Brahma. You are like the sun who is visible externally, who can travel the 3 planets. And you are like that air which can touch the soul, like the internal part. So, O Narada Muni, please tell me, what is the cause of my despondency? What is the cause of my dissatisfaction? You know, sometimes when we ask questions, not that there are no answers to it, but many times we are not ready to take that answer. Because in our mind, we already have some answers. And if the answer given is not aligned with my answer, I don't accept that answer. This is true in the material world. When we try to ask a question, knowing the answer and just to see whether it matches with my understanding that I have. But in the spiritual world, if we carry that same mindset, the answers will never make any sense to us. This will become an armchair philosophy. Sitting in my chair, sometimes I think, okay, what could be the reason? Why am I having this problem or this kind of anxiety or disturbance? But I'm not ready to take answer because in my mind, I'm just trying to compare the answer that I have. And if it doesn't match, I'm not ready to take that answer. If you read the Bhagavatam first canto, first chapter, second verse, Dharma projita kaitavo atro paramo nirmad saranam satam. Vedyam vastavam atra vastu sivadam tapatrayon mulanam. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamani krite kimba parayarishvara. Sadhyo hridi avarudhyate atra kritibhi shushushu vistakshana. In that verse, in the purport, Prabhupada mentions the process of hearing, the process of receiving spiritual knowledge. It has to be done in 2 ways. The first one is with eagerness. And the second one is more important, with submissiveness. You see, Vedavyas, his position, I think I had shared this earlier also, compiler of all the Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, so accomplished, Vedanta Sutra. And yet, when his spiritual master is telling him, Khilam, Manye tad Khilam. Khilam is inferior. I consider this, whatever you have done, this work to be very inferior. Now, did Vedavyas, and this is just the beginning. Actually, Narad Muni is going to give more instructions about the work done by Vedavyas, and not just Khilam. He will go to the extent of telling Jugupsitam. This is despicable. This is condemnable. The work that you have done. Imagine, after having written so many literatures, if somebody comes, especially your spiritual master, your authority comes and tells the work that you have done is despicable. The work that you have done is inferior. We have done some work and there is a feedback when sometimes it comes. If it is slightly, not even by a fraction, if it is, anything other than what we were expecting, we just can't take it, right? We want to reaffirm, like the last class I was telling, we don't want to hear the truth. We somehow or other want to hear what we already have formed some impression in our mind. And the process of feedback, when it is not there, when it is not established, when somebody is not ready to listen, when somebody is not in a position to accept the spiritual truth which is given, then the growth or advancement in spiritual life is checked. You see, if you want to become unpopular in the society, very simple, if or by, no, let me put it in this way. If your job is to tell someone that you're doing something wrong, very quickly you'll become unpopular. Because people don't want to hear anything wrong or anything you point, even though it is not related to their day-to-day material activities, but in relation to their spiritual life, still there is a huge resistance. If I have to put it in some colloquial terms, the opposite of the submissiveness is somebody will have some kurkur and somebody will have some gurgur. You know what is kurkur and gurgur? Kurkur is silent protest. They will not say anything, but silently they will so act, do everything that they're, I'm protesting. Why this feedback is given? I'm perfect. I'm a perfect human being with everything, all perfect qualities. Godly qualities are manifested within me. I don't need to hear anything. So how they react? Silently protesting. Whatever is told, not doing it 100%, not doing it to the capacity, or doing it whatever I feel like, whatever I feel is correct, I will do as per that. You do whatever, like whatever you want to do. And gurgur is little violently, openly they'll say something, right? But in whatever maybe the situation, so when somebody gets into that kind of a mode, what happens is the next step in that is they find if somebody else also is having similar kind of feelings, kurkur and gurgur, and they become friends. Okay, see, we should not. And then they harbor this ill feeling within, and they continue to grow that. That ill feeling grows, and they have little knowledge that this association is such subtle. Even though one knows that this is not the right thing to do, but he associates with someone who's having that kind of a mentality, he also develops that. And then by the time they realize the repercussion, the consequence of this, out of bhakti, over, because the real enjoyment, the real transcendental bliss, how to experience that is gone. Very interestingly, this letter to, I'll skip this because this letter to Gurudas Prabhu is a very classic example of Srila Prabhupada's instruction. This is a wonderful letter. Actually, this letter should be read very carefully, very clearly. Of course, the context also is important because sometimes people quote Prabhupada has said. Prabhupada has said, and they bring something and they just have their own agenda or their own this thing and they say, okay, Prabhupada has said. But we don't see the Desa Kala Patra, right? The context in which it is told, to whom it is told, why it is told. This letter written by Prabhupada to Gurudas Prabhu is in response to his letter where he has mentioned that, oh, Srila Prabhupada, I'm so thankful to you for having given me this opportunity to be engaged in devotional service. And he was appreciating the fact that he's living in the community of devotees and he was appreciating every single thing that we are getting with a lot of gratitude. And in response to this, Prabhupada writes to Gurudas Prabhu, please accept my blessings to yourself and to your good wife, Yamuna Devi. With the greatest satisfaction, I have read your letter of November 25th. And just yesterday, I received our published pictures of Prahlad Maharaj. I thank you very much for your sincere endeavors, and I'm sure that Krishna will bestow upon you all blessings for your notable service attitude. And now you see, pay attention. This is the key to progressing in Krishna consciousness. that one learns to serve Krishna and the spiritual master in humble attitude. And this attitude in you shall certainly bring you further and further in perfecting your life. So, so he's telling that the key to progress in Krishna consciousness is one learns to serve Krishna and the spiritual master in humble attitude. And this attitude in you shall certainly bring you further and further in perfecting your life. In humble submission, the devotee finds such sweet transcendental pleasure. If really one wants to experience, I was telling yesterday also, transcendental pleasure, which is sweet, which is nectarian, can be experienced in this humble submission. The devotee finds. Otherwise, this is all gratifying the ego in some way or other. I did this service. I am in the center of this thing. I have done this. I have been achieving. I, me, I. That's all is going on. In humble submission, the devotee finds such sweet transcendental pleasure that no more he is interested in the nonsense material world, and no more he is affected by the influence of the inferior energy, the Maya. One has to be engaged in devotional service in a humble, submissive manner, because by that one experiences the transcendental pleasure. And once one experiences the transcendental pleasure, what happens? There are two more things. He is not affected by the material attraction and not influenced by the external energy, Maya. So it's a very important instruction to remember. And so this inquiry is so important. As I said, the quality of our questions decide the quality of our lives. So that's why there's a very beautiful verse in the earlier chapter that we read, first canto, third chapter, 39th verse. This verse says, Atheha dhanya bhagavanta itham yadva sudeve khilalokanathe kurvanti sarvatmakamatma bhavam nayatra bhuya parivarta ugra. Atheha dhanya bhagavanta itham yad vasudeve khilalokanathe kurvanti sarvat makamatma bhavam nayatra bhuya parivarta ugra. These questions, these relevant inquiries are important in life. And they are all glorious. Atheha dhanya bhagavanta itham. These questions, this is Suta Goswami telling to the sages of Naimisharanya. These are all wonderful, glorious questions. Yad vasudeve khilalokanathe. Because it is related to Vasudeva. Kurvanti sarvatmakamatma bhavam nayatra bhuya parivarta ugraha. The word parivarta ugraha is very beautifully translated by Prabhupada. It's a wonderful translation. You should remember this translation. You read the verse. Only by making such inquiries in this world can one be successful and perfectly cognizant. For such inquiries invoke transcendental ecstatic love unto the personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of all the universes, and guarantee 100% immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death. So this, the word which is used here is parivarta ugraha. Ugraha is dreadful, and parivarta is a repetition. Repetition of this birth and death. It's a very dreadful. But Prabhupada is writing in the translation, it is a 100% immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death. So nayatra bhuya, it's basically we will not take birth again in this dreadful position, but he is telling 100% immunity. What? By making such inquiries in this world can one be successful and perfectly cognizant, for such inquiries invoke transcendental ecstatic love unto the personality of Godhead. Yad vasudeve khilalokanathe kurbanti sarvatmakamatma bhava. So the inquiries of Vedavyas are very profound. The inquiries of the sages are very important. But we need to have the right heart, the right consciousness, which is basically our eagerness and our submissiveness to hear this. Otherwise, the message can never penetrate the layers of coverings that we have. I already spoke about this, the resistance, sometimes, the feedback when you see once, twice, thrice, and as I said, it's when it is falling in Gurkur or Gurgur in that category, then you just feel, okay, let them be fed and then just go back. No more giving. And if somebody gets into that kind of a stage, especially if it is coming from the authority where somebody feels that I should not give any feedback to this person, it's a very dangerous position. Very dangerous position. And then what happens is when one stops getting those kind of corrections, or where, because the attitude is, why did you tell me? Why do you think I have got some problems? Whatever I feel, I know everything is right. I'm doing. Why I have to listen to someone? So then what happens is the anarthas and those unwanted things inside keep growing. And as I said, when that association, even somebody finds a like-minded person where they come together and they get into that kind of a mood, this becomes gossip. And when the gossiping continues, bhakti goes out in the heart. The submissiveness is gone. The engaging in devotional service in the right way is gone. Then experiencing the sweet transcendental mellows is gone. And once that is gone, Maya is attacking, then the material world also looks attractive. This is basically who we are really and what is our perception of who we are. Sometimes we think we know everything. And this is exactly the problem when the earlier verses in one of the purports also Prabhupada was telling that, to pinpoint this is not easy. To tell someone why you are going through this problem is because of this. So it is not easy to detect by the self himself because he thinks he's perfect. So that is why one has to see objectively. Objectively seeing is through the vision of Guru, Sadhu and Sastra. See through the instructions of the spiritual master. See through the instructions of other devotees. Not just one devotee, two devotees. Ask any senior devotees, anybody who's been practicing, is there anything wrong I'm doing? And look at from the conclusions of the Shastra. Anyway, this I had shared last time, the truth and the comfort, the pill that we have. Truth is sometimes unpleasant. It's not very palatable. But when we go for comfort, then we don't get the comfort also in life because it is an illusory world. And truth is anyway far away. But if you follow the truth, which maybe, it is not an easy thing to do, but this is the right thing to do. When we do that, ultimately truth also will come and the comfort also will come. The last one is why glorification of the Lord. And you see, there are some instructions in Bhagavatam which we should just remember. I mean, you just cannot forget. One of the things which Prabhupada again and again brings is this, impersonalism and how this is just, mental speculation, and a person who's doing that, it may look intellectually very superior, and how it is so shallow. And if you want to, have a good solid understanding for our own self, and when we have any conversation, not to prove someone wrong or anything of that sort, but just to be convinced about the philosophy that we are practicing ourselves. In this purport, towards the end, Prabhupada is writing, the compiler of the Vedanta Darshan is Vyasadeva himself, yet he is troubled, although he is the author. Vedavyas, who himself wrote this, is troubled. He is the author and he is troubled after having written all this Vedanta Darshan. So what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by the readers and listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva, the author? So it's a very important point to remember in life. Actually, before coming to Krishna consciousness, I had a hobby. I had a habit of reading a lot of books, all kinds of books. But this, if you remember this one statement of Prabhupada, he's saying, what is the use of all those things? Because the author himself who wrote all these wonderful things, all Puranas and everything else, and after having written all those things, he was still not satisfied. If the author himself is not satisfied, how can the listener and reader be satisfied by hearing and listening to the same literature? So herein arises the necessity of explaining Vedanta Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam by the self same author. So the translation says that actually Vedavyas didn't directly glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yasho Amalam. Amalam Yasha of the Lord was not properly glorified. What is the benefit? Why should we glorify and how should we glorify? I have just 3 verses. With that, we will conclude because there's a lot of things and things become out of the place. But these 3 important, profound verses, they just clearly say what is the necessity and why should we do this and how do we benefit from this. The first one is a very famous verse, which Prabhupada quotes often from the first canto, 2nd chapter, 17th verse. Shrinvatam Swakataha Krishnaha Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Pradayantastho hi avadrani vidhunoti surotsata. Very beautiful verse, very, very beautiful verse. As we all know that, there is a series of verses which starts with this verse, but what does this verse say? The translation of this is, Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So you see, the glories of the Lord, when we hear it, it's one of the most pleasing thing to the soul, not just to the ears, to the heart. It just pleases, it completely satisfies. There is nothing in this world, even if I'm materially fully addicted, I have no this thing for the Supreme Lord, or I have question mark about his existence. Still, the activities, the glories of the Lord are so wonderful. Any soul who hears, he gets completely satisfied. Now, in this verse, it is telling it is not just being satisfied. Actually, the Lord who seated as Paramatma in our heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee cleanses the desires for material enjoyment from the heart. He cleanses the desires for material enjoyment. Who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. We know this, worth repeating in Bhagavad Gita, the verse 18 chapter 61 verse. Anybody knows how it starts? Yantra Rudhani Maya. How does it start? Brahmayan. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridya se Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Maya. This verse affirms the existence of the Lord as Paramatma in our heart. Ishvaraha Sarva Bhutanam Hridya se Arjuna Tishtati. The Lord is seated in our heart as Paramatma. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridya se Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Maya. Unfortunate position of ours is, because of this influence of external energy, Maya, seated in this yantra, we are wandering here and there, oblivious of the position of the Lord as Paramatma in our heart. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridya se Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Maya. That Maya, the external energy of the Lord, bewilders us so much that we don't even perceive the presence of the Lord as Supersoul in our heart. But here it is mentioned, when we develop a taste, when we develop an urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted, it cleanses, the Lord in our heart cleanses the desires for material enjoyment. This purport is very interesting. There is a very one significant point which Prabhupada is mentioning. It is not the entire purport, just a small portion of it. Messages of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna are non-different from him. This is the first important thing. The Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela of the Lord, which can be accessed by the conditioned living entities in this material world, are non-different from him. The name that we are chanting, it is non-different from the Lord. So when we are chanting in the morning, whenever, whatever time we are chanting, that understanding that right now I'm in the presence of the Lord is present in front of me, not just in the form of holy name, his rupa, his form when we are having the darshan, his guna, his lila, his qualities and his pastimes. These are all transcendental, non-different from the Lord. Messages of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna are non-different from him. Whenever, therefore, offenseless hearing, you see the word? It is not offenseless chant, offenseless hearing of this. Sometimes we create offenses in our mind while hearing also, oh, this something is going to come, or this is what it is. Then our actually the submissiveness, what it does is it creates an open mind. When the mind is open, then the message can come. When the mind is closed, when there is no submissiveness in hearing, then nothing goes. Physically, I'm sitting here. The messages are being told. This is not somebody's personal this thing. These are messages which are glorious. These are transcendental glorification of the Supreme Lord. We are getting an opportunity to hear. But because of the block in my mind, because of lack of some submissiveness, I'm not able to hear. So whenever there are, therefore, offenseless hearing and glorification of God are undertaken, it is to be understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshastaka declares clearly that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and that he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potency. There is no rigid fixture of time, and anyone can chant the holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience. The Lord is so kind to us that he can be present before us personally in the form of transcendental sound. But unfortunately, we have no taste for hearing and glorifying the Lord's name and activities. We have already discussed developing a taste for hearing and chanting the holy sound. It is done through the medium of service to the pure devotee of the Lord. So this is one verse which we should remember about glorification, the process of glorification, why glorification. The next one. This is a verse from the second canto, and this verse is Prayana Munaya Rajan Nivritta Vidhi Sedhataha Nairgunyastha Ramante Sma Gunanu Kathane Harehe. This is again beautiful verse. O King Parikshit, this is Sukadev Goswami beginning to speak. Prayana Munayo Rajan Nivritta Vidhi Sedhataha. O King Parikshit, mainly the topmost transcendentalist, Prayana, almost all this topmost transcendentalist. Who are this topmost transcendentalists? Nivritta Vidhi Sedataha, who are above the regulative principles and restrictions. Vidhi and Sedataha. One is regulative principles and the restrictions. Who are beyond that. They take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. Nairgunyastha Ramante Sma Gunanu Kathane Hari. They take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. Not just ordinary people, the topmost transcendentalists. And in the purport, this is also not the entire purport, just a small excerpt. Therefore, the highest perfection of transcendental realization, is to take pleasure in hearing and describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and not in merging into his impersonal Brahman existence, for which the impersonalist monist aspires. Real transcendental pleasure is realized in the glorification of the transcendental Lord, and not in the feeling of being situated in his impersonal feature. But there are also others who are not in the topmost transcendentalists, but are in a lower status, and who do not take pleasure in describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. Rather, they discuss such activities of the Lord formally with the aim of merging into his existence. But you see, the first few things Prabhupada is saying that highest perfection of transcendental realization is to take pleasure in hearing and describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and not in merging into his impersonal Brahman existence. And the last one. This is a prayer by Sukadev Goswami. Sukadev Goswami, before he recites Srimad Bhagavatam, offers this wonderful prayer. It's a beautiful prayer. It's a series of prayers, but this particular prayer, very famous. Yad kirtanam, yad smaranam, yad ikshanam, yad vandanam, yad shravanam, yad arhanam, lokasya sadyo vidhunoti kalmasam, tasmai subhadra shravase namo namaha. This is such a wonderful prayer, actually. Sukadev Goswami, before even he speaks Bhagavatam, he's saying, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrance, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all sins of the performer. The sublime form of religious performance is to free oneself from all reactions of sins is suggested herein by the greatest authority, Sri Sukadev Goswami. Kirtanam, or glorifying the Lord, can be performed in very many ways, such as remembering, visiting temples to see the deity, offering prayers in front of the Lord, and hearing recitations of glorification of the Lord mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Kirtanam can be performed both by singing the glories of the Lord in accompaniment with melodious music and by recitation of scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. So the sublime form of religious performances to free oneself from all reactions of sin is suggested herein by the greatest authority, Sukadev Goswami. What is that? Glorifying the Lord, Kirtanam. And that can be performed in this ways, Prabhupada is saying, such as remembering, visiting temples, seeing the deities, and offering prayers. All this are part of that glorification of the Lord. So these are some of the important points from this verse. We spoke about three things. One is our constitution. Constitutional position, as we saw, is very glorious. We are eternally the servant of the Lord. We have an eternal relationship with that eternal Lord. Forgetting that, we are actually, wandering in this material world, struggling hard, working so many ways, different ways to get some happiness. Second thing I told about is the process of question and answer, and how that process of question and answer, the inquiries, what is the mood, how it has to be done. And as in Bhagavatam first canto, first chapter, second verse, it is mentioned the process of hearing. There are two pillars of it. One is called eagerness, and the other one is submissiveness. We saw the letter of Prabhupada written to Gurudas Prabhu, where he is explaining how this submissive attitude one can experience the transcendental sweet mellows of the Lord, the sweet transcendental pleasures. Otherwise, this material things will always bother us. But if we want to experience that, then we have to have the submissive attitude. And then if you have that, it is not just experiencing those transcendental sweet pleasure, but also one will forget about the attractions of material world, and also will be able to say no to the external energy of the Lord, Maya. Then also we saw that verse from first canto, third chapter, how these inquiries are so relevant, because this gives us immunization from this dreadful repetition of birth and death. But how, if we don't have the attitude to take the feedback in the submissive way, as Vyasadeva took it, not from anybody else, not from everybody. There could be so many feedback, so many people are giving, but at least from our authorities. If we are not able to take, then the problem remains. As I said, there is a kurkur category and a gurgur category, right? So there is somebody who's protesting silently, somebody who's violently protesting. Silently protesting is trying to do something in his own. I will show, I'll do in my own way. Let him do whatever. Let him tell. Let him say. Let him some. Let the rule come. I'll show that I can find a way to escape and do something. All these kind of things will go on, and then you form a community, and then you discuss in all those kind of things, and then slowly, by the time one realizes, one is out of bhakti. And the third thing that we saw is the glorification of the Lord. Why it is necessary, how it works, what it does. Not only it is satisfying to the soul, to the heart, to the ears, but also the Lord who is seated in our heart cleanses our heart from all the misgivings, all these impurities. And it is such a joyful process, but how it has to be done, we saw in these three verses. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments.
One of the things that you spoke about was the offenseless hearing. And that same purport I saw one line after you said that service to the devotee. It was not about understanding. Offenseless hearing, how to develop like other things you should go outside of the hearing time. So I can't hear you. I'm not offensive of it. But if you want to offenselessly hear, it is something you should do before.
Actually, the biggest hindrance in offenseless hearing is our ego. Ego that I know who's this devotee. We have material parameters to judge a devotee, because there is so many devotees who are available. We have heard other devotees, senior devotees, and all. So we think in our mind, okay, what he's going to speak, or how many years he has spent in the movement. All kinds of thoughts go on. These are all background processing. So when those things are going on, so when I'm sitting there, I'm paying more attention to all those things and filtering the thing in my mind while listening, rather than being concerned that this message which he's going to speak is transcendental, because the words of Bhagavatam are pure. Doesn't matter who is saying that. So that is why the Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, the reason why it is given for us to hear, to be in the class, to hear that Bhagavatam, whoever be the speaker, even if it's just a 1 day old devotee, if he is also giving class, we should hear. That mood of submission, it is actually with that submission mood when we sit here, even if I know everything, because I'm sitting here, it's a service for my Guru, it is service to the Lord, and let me hear submissively with an open mind, because these messages have the potency, power to remove that. But when I don't have the right mood at the beginning, then I'll filter things and then I'm lost actually. It is not easy, especially if you are a little senior and you have to hear someone who is junior to, in terms of number of years or in terms of something. That itself is a big sadhana. To sit there in somebody who's junior to you to hear, because see, if somebody has not developed the right understanding, then he'll be thinking what he'll speak, because we are seeing material calculations. What he's speaking is important, because what he's speaking is actually Bhagavatam, is the either glorification of the Lord or the instruction of the Lord. Either way, it is beneficial for me. I should just hear. Even if I know, I should act. Oh, I don't know what was that. Let me hear fully how he is narrating, what he's saying. That helps. That can help. Any other questions? So we have some wonderful verses which are coming up now in Bhagavatam. Don't miss this first canto, 5th and 6th chapter are wonderful description. The conversation between Narada Muni and Vedavyas are not ordinary by any standard. Some of the most frequently quoted verses are going to come in the subsequent verses. Wonderful verses and wonderfully explained by Prabhupada in his brilliant purports, and worth knowing this importance of hearing Bhagavatam, what this Bhagavatam is all about. This is all going to come now in the next verses that we will read. So continue to join us for this to hear this discussion between Narada and Vedavyas. Another question, we'll stop here. The Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.